Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a very large but very fun project for you. For Halloween, I decided I want to do a costume that was a little bit challenging. There's a lot of movable parts with it. This costume comes from Simplicity's 8719, I do believe. In that pattern, there are 3 different costumes. There's a vampire, I think it's Frankenstein's bride, and a witch, which is what I decided to do. So without much ado, I'm going to go ahead and show you the first piece today. That is, I think it's the Shrug. And yeah, let's just get into it. Before we get started, I wanted to show you the mock-up. The good thing about this mock-up is that it fit. I did add a little bit of width to the back because I was afraid of it being a little too tight around my shoulders, and tapered it off at the shoulder seam so it didn't add any extra width. The shrug didn't have to take into account my breasts adding width because it only went around my upper chest. So if you're going to do this, you really only need your upper chest measurements, and it should fit. The sleeves also fit too. From here, I cut out all the pieces except the tabs and my purple satin. I am a believer in attaching interfacing first and then moving on to the project, which is what I did. Let's start with the tabs first. Each tab comes in a set, one with a flat end and one with a pointed end. I cut mine out in light brown cotton with medium weight interfacing. After applying the interfacing on the wrong side, you fold in half lengthwise, sew them across the raw edges at 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter, but not across the edge with the large dot. Trim your seam allowances and clip the corners. Then flip them inside out, which took forever and hurt my fingers just a little bit. Once they're flipped, you'll want to press them flat. Make sure you transfer your marks so you can see them, and base stitch the raw edge closed within the seam allowance. Then you'll edge stitch all the finished edges to make them look like a strap. I chose the same color or something close to it, and I also tried to sew through that thick fabric in my sewing machine, which almost made my machine explode, so I ended up hand stitching some of them, which made them look awful, except for this one for some reason. You'll punch holes through the dots you transferred from the pattern. You can use an owl, which worked okay, but it did leave it a little bit haggard. Do the same thing for the rest of the tabs. Going back to the shrug, stay stitch the back of the shrug from the shoulders to meet in the center on both sides. On your 2 front pieces, stay stitch from the shoulder seams to the center. Taking your tabs 4 and 6, pin them to the shrug front by matching the big dots to the ones on the shrug. The raw edge of the tab will need to be even with the raw edge of the shrug, which will result in them looking odd and aimed in weird directions, but that's the way it's supposed to be, so don't worry. Base stitch them in, and do the same thing on the other side with pieces 5 and 7. Stitch the fronts to the back at the shoulder seams and at the side seams. Press your seams flat. Stitch your lining the same way that you sewed your outside. Pin the lining to the outside right sides together, matching side seams. Leave your neck seam open, but sew around the rest of the edges. Make sure that you move your tabs out of the way, put them towards the inside, so you don't sew over them while you're sewing the lining to the outside. When you're done with that, trim your seams and clip your curves. Flip the garment right side out and press your seams. Baste together your neck hole edges and your armhole seams, matching your shoulder seams. Then clip the neck curve. Taking your lace, pin it to the outside of the shrug on the folded edges, and I would suggest leaving just a little bit of length at the ends for the neckband. At this little corner here, I folded it in half like this, which you can't really see, but like I folded the band of the lace onto itself to shift the direction of the lace and follow the point. Sew the lace into place, keeping your tabs out of the way. Onto the interface neckband. Press under the unnotched edge at 3/8 of an inch or 1 centimeter. Fold the neckband in half lengthwise, hot dog, not hamburger, right sides together. Stitch the ends, but it was truly hard to figure out where the seam line was, so I made my best judgment. Trim your seams and clip the curves. Turn the band right side out and press, and this is when I realized that the band was backwards. Don't know how this happened, but I suppose it had something to do with me. Considering how it's attached, I kind of just continued onwards because it wasn't really going to make a difference, and it was just going to be backwards for you, the viewer. I could be wrong, and I could be looking at this picture wrong, but in the end, I can say in hindsight, it worked, it's fine. Ignoring that, I pinned the band to the shrug neckline along the curves, matching your centers, back, notches, and large dots. The small dots should be matching the shoulder seam. Stitch it into place, and also make sure that your lace gets pinned down to the edge as well, and stitch it into place too. Clip your curves again. Press the neckline out away from the shrug, and flip it over to the inside seam. Pin the folded edge into place over the seam and stitch, which I prefer stitching in the ditch and catching the folded edge on the other side. The pattern says to stitch close to the seam, but honestly either way works, I just prefer in the ditch. I had this annoying thing where the end didn't want to act right. I had truly butchered the neckline, but not enough where it couldn't look nice. So I folded in the raw edges you see here and sewed it so that it looked like it was top stitched and like I meant for it to look like that. Anyway, from here you will punch holes into the neckband according to the pattern, but I'll be honest that I did what I felt like looked nice, and I know that I got a thick neck. Using an owl to punch the holes will work, but with satin it looks truly awful. I suggest some type of hole punch like the ones you punch into leather. Moving to the sleeve, you will want to put 2 running stitches, 1 3/8 of an inch away from the edge, and another one 1/8 of an inch from the previous stitch within the seam allowance, between the notches. Do the same thing to the bottom edge from one dot to the other. And I only folded this to show you the whole sleeve. Do not fold your sleeve. Now, fold your sleeve in half, right sides together with the underarm seam edges matching, and stitch. Press the seam open. Take number 9, the interface sleeve cuff, and fold it right sides together, matching the ends and stitch. Then press the seam open. Press up the unnotched edge of the cuff at 5/8 of an inch. Then trim it to 3/8 of an inch. Feed the sleeve right side out into the band wrong side out. With both of them together, pin the band to the sleeve matching seams and large dot. Pull together the sleeve so that it fits snugly into the band. Base, then stitch and trim your seam. Press the band and the seam away from the sleeve. On the inside of the sleeve, flip the band up enough so that it covers the seam. This is going to be the same as the neckline, where the folded edge will be placed over the seam, and you sew from the other side so that it catches on the other side. So go ahead and stitch that band down. I did not apply the lace the way they wanted because I got pretty tired around this moment. I did take an extra piece of lace around 1 inch longer than the band and pin it around the outside edge of the band. With the extra, I just overlapped it a little bit. I stitched it in, and I made the end look neat by trimming it so that it looks like it's supposed to look like that. I took a moment to start gathering the edges of the armhole before I pinned it in. With your sleeve right side out and your garment wrong side out, feed the sleeve into the armhole. Pin the sleeve into the armhole matching the center small dot at the shoulder seam. Pin the sleeve into the armhole, matching the center small dot to the shoulder seam, matching the underarm seams, the notches, and the remaining dots. Pull on the thread from the sleeve, getting rid of any extra fullness, and make it snugly enough to fit into the armhole. Pin the rest in place, base and stitch the sleeve in place. Then stitch again at 1/8 of an inch into the seam allowance. Trim your seam allowance between the notches at the underarm seam. Finally, to the tabs. I made a mistake and brought the wrong buckles, which wouldn't have been an issue if I didn't buy around 150 of them in a variety of colors. The one I was supposed to get was supposed to look like this, like a normal belt buckle. So as far as I'm concerned, these are the buckles we are using, because I am not wasting that money. I put them on by folding the buckle tab over the post with the stake. Then I secured it underneath, which is kind of the opposite of what it looks like, but the other way. Pulling the band through, the only issue I had was the end flipping up, which I fixed by putting a piece of Velcro underneath so that it would stay down. Easy. Now for those who got the right piece. It is basically the same thing, except the band wraps around the middle post with the stake. Once secured, you'll pull the band through like this and then through the other side like a normal buckle, and it's supposed to hold it down. Either way honestly works, it's just up to you. You'll do this with all the tabs with the flat end, and also on the neckband, do not forget to put a buckle up there. The shrug I found to be really fun and really cute. I did not change the buckles because I was a little bit lazy, but all in all, it fit well. I didn't have any issues with my bust. I just think it was really cute. I know I always say that, but it was really cute. Really nice. I really like the shrug because it gave me all like this strappy goodness across my chest, which I love. And what else? And I love the lace. I love how it still fit, even with my bust being as large as it was. And I really didn't have to add that much to it to get it to fit. I think my only issue is I wish that the sleeves sat correctly or like a little more poofier, kind of like the shorts, but like the bloomers will be in a future video. But all in all, I have to say this is really, really, really stinking cute. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. I think the next one's going to be the bloomers, and it should be out either this evening or tomorrow. But yeah, I really appreciate you joining me here today. If you wouldn't mind dropping a like or subscribing, that'd be cool. And down below, tell me what you're gonna be for Halloween. Like, I'm really interested to know. Everybody has like these really cool ideas, and I feel like I can never think of any cool ideas till like the very end, the day before. So yeah. Also follow me on Instagram, and I do have a Twitter, and I hope to put it down below. If I don't, please remind me. But yeah, I will see you folks in the next video. Bye.